Solving equations involving distributive property. Let's take a look. All right, well, we need to remember our distributive property is when you have a term right outside of the parentheses that will be multiplied to each term inside the parentheses. So you can see right here, A is going to get multiplied with each term in the inside of the parentheses. So A times B and then A times C. Or if you have a subtraction here, we would do still distribute A times B and A times C. Okay, so this is what an equation would look like when it has the distributive property. So you can see right here, there's a term right against a set of parentheses. So when you have that in your equation, this now is what needs to be taken care of first. All right, so let's take a look at our examples. There's at least two different ways that you can solve an equation with the distributive property. Now the first way is like we've been doing, which is take that 5, let me just draw my line, take that 5 and distribute it, multiply it to each term inside of the parentheses. So 5 times 3 will give you 15, then you put the C back on. Then 5 times negative 2 will give you now a negative 10. So you bring down the equals and the 20. Now you have your regular two-step equation. So from here we want to get rid of the term not directly with the variable like the 15 is, so we want to cancel out that negative 10. We will do that by adding 10 here, adding 10 here, and 15c will equal 30. And then since the 15 is being multiplied with that variable c, the inverse of multiplying is dividing. So divide both sides by 15, and once you do that, c will equal 2. Okay, so the difference here is now the distributive property needs to be taken care of first. All right, that was method 1. Now for method 2, well, since the distributive property is multiplication, so the 5 is getting multiplied to each term inside of the parentheses, what you could do first to get rid of the distributive is to do the inverse of the 5 being multiplied. Well, the inverse of multiplication is dividing. So we can divide this side by 5, which means we have to divide the other side by 5. Once we do that, we are left with 3c minus 2, and 20 divided by 5 is 4. Now you're here at your two-step equation. All right, so let's cancel out the term not directly with the variable. So opposite would be to add 2. 3c is equal to 6. And of course, our last step to cancel out that multiplying of 3 would be to divide by 3, and c equals 2. All right, so that's your other option. So I did add in a couple more examples. So first one, we have 4 times the quantity negative 3m minus 2 equals 88. So this one I'm going to work out using the first method, which is applying the distributive property, and I'm going to distribute that 4 to each term inside the parentheses. When I do that, 4 times negative 3 will give me negative 12m, and now 4 times negative 2 is going to be negative 8. Bring down the equals and the 88. Now from here, we need to cancel out the term not directly with the variable, so that's the negative 8. Inverse would be to add 8 to both sides. That would leave you with negative 12m on the left, and that's going to give you 96 on the right. From here, we will divide. The variable is being multiplied by negative 12, So we're going to divide by negative 12, and m will equal negative 8. So there's your answer. All right, I'm going to skip down over to this next one. 2 times the quantity x plus 5 equals 16. Now for this one, I'm going to do using method 2. Method 2 was by undoing the multiplication of 2. So that means I will divide by 2 on both sides. I am left with x plus 5 on the left side, and 16 divided by 2 is 8. Now all I have here is the number that's not directly with the variable, so subtract 5. X is equal to 3. I don't have to do any other steps here because the variable is all alone like we want it. Okay, so now I threw in a little bit bigger example. This one's going to be a double. So here, this is what we will do. We have 3 times the quantity m plus 1, then minus 2m equals 0. So on this problem, we need to identify that we have the distributive property in the problem. That must be taken care of before anything else. So let's go ahead and use the distributive method. So I'm going to distribute the 3 only to the terms inside the parentheses. So when I do that, 3 times m, well, 3 times there's an invisible 1. Don't forget about that invisible 1. When there's a variable by itself, there's that 1. So 3 times 1 is 3. We'll put the m back on. And 3 times positive 1 is going to be a positive 3. Now we get to this minus 2m. Well, that's not involved in the distributive, but it is still part of the equation. So we're going to bring this down. Okay, now looking at what we have, on the left side, I see 2 different m terms. Well, we don't want it like that. We want to combine those like terms. So right here, we're going to have to combine these 2 terms. Okay, so when I do that, 3m minus 2m will give me 1m. Bring down the plus 3, because that is not a like term with anything else, and it will be equal 0. Okay, so from here, I'm going to need to cancel out that plus 3, so I will subtract 3. Now, I really don't need that 1 with the m, so I'm just going to write m equals, well, 0 minus 3 will equal negative 3. So that was a little bit longer example, but you need to remember, distributive needs to be taken care of first, then you need to combine any like terms, if there are any, and then you solve your 1 or 2 step equation. Okay, so from there you will have this example to do. Now it is your choice as far as which method you would like to do. Do you want to distribute the 9 to each term and solve it that way? Or do you want to divide both sides by 9 first and then finish solving from there? So good luck.